On the go? Download the free andrewhogue.com iPhone and Android app, so we'll never be apart.
Talking about this and oh,
sorry, mate, I'll just hit record now.
Sorry.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
there you go. Yeah. So interesting talking about ice baths and things like that. So my buddy actually does something similar, but he goes into a cryo room
Oh yeah, like
and
cryotherapy.
it goes down to like minus 80,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he's in there for like not very long, basically.
30 seconds or
And
60
your
seconds.
whole core temperature, they put like gloves on you and a face mask and stuff like that, and uh, and booties that I assume are quite warm, and things to cover up your important bits,
Yeah, of
you know.
course. Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, he says exactly the same thing. He said, your brain is just wired after it,
Mm.
on a level playing field. So yeah, I might have to try it.
Give it a go. And
Yeah.
I invested in a red light. Not I do red light therapy as well, but I invested in a infrared sauna. So that's another thing to add to the wellness list. So I don't want to get off topic here because we got to get underway.
Crikey, man! You know what? I mean, I've got my porridge in the other room that I haven't actually made the porridge yet. I've got it all ready, like with put the stuff in, do my porridge for the morning, and I am drinking a cup of poison.
Oh, there you go. All right, let's get underway with the chat in 3, 2, 1. This is andrewhogue.com, still Australia's first and only dedicated 24/7 metal radio station, established 2012. And it's my pleasure to welcome back the great man, a huge inspiration in my life, Mr. Bruce Dickinson, which with another new project or album, solo record, number 7, long overdue. Welcome back to andrewhogue.com, Bruce.
Yeah, thanks very much. Good to be here because I'm going to be in Australia shortly as well, which is really exciting. Albeit not with the Mandrake project, but I'll be bringing it along whilst I'm obviously having a blast with Maiden in August.
100%. We're
Cool.
looking forward to it. So let's jump right into the Mandrake project. Of course, it's out on the 1st of March, your 7th affair as in solo works. I love Tyranny of Souls, massive fan of that. We all know that it isn't a concept album, so we don't have to get into that sort of question that I'm sure you've been asked a dozen times. Now, this has been done over the course of, well, coming up to, just under a decade. This began around 2014. Now, was this penned after your cancer treatment, or the idea of this was starting before that happened?
No, it all started before. So I was diagnosed literally. I mean, I got finished with recording the Book of Souls, and then went to see the doctor because I'd avoided it for about a month because I thought there's something weird going. There's definitely something strange going on with me. I don't know what this is. Am I getting the cold? No, I didn't get the cold. It just stayed weird, And I Googled myself and tapped in a few links and things like that and did a bit of research and went, well, it could be this or it could be that or it could be, I don't like the sound of that. Okay, I'm just going to do the ostrich thing and stick my head in the sand. And then when I've done the record, I'll go see the doctor. So basically, it was in France and the local quack just turned up. He didn't have a bag, even nothing. He got a spoon out of the kitchen drawer, had a look down my throat, had a good feel of various bits, and said, "Okay, mate, here's what you got to do. Here's what." Well, no, he didn't say that, not straight out, but he gave me He said, "Well, here's what you need to do in the next 3 days: get an MRI of whatever that lump is in the side of your neck." Get a CAT scan of your chest and upper body, and here's some antibiotics in the unlikely event it's not what I think it might be. I went, okay, that doesn't sound good. So within a week, I went back to England and sitting in front of my ear, nose, and throat specialist, and she told me, okay, we've done the little biopsy. And what's come out is cancer cells. So, yeah, you got you got cancer. I went, okay, cool, not cool, but that was 2015. So almost all the tracks on this record were written in 2014 or before.
Okay, all
And
the tracks. Okay, because I know
yeah,
that the If
almost all the
Eternity
tracks.
Should Fail, which ended up on Book of Souls, you've ended up using it on the Mandrake project of Eternity Has Failed.
Yeah.
So literally, was it almost ready to go? But it seems, like I said, it's taken a life of its own because of the delays over the years. I mean,
Yeah.
were you ready to
Yeah.
drop this album like around 2015?
No, because obviously we were going into Maiden album and then the kind of cycle of touring that goes with it. But all that got put on ice because,
Yep.
in 2016, because I was basically getting over it. And 2017 was like super busy because we were playing catch up on everything, 2017 into 2018. And then just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water, COVID hit.
Of course.
Now, If Eternity Should Fail was originally going to be the title track of the record. It's actually pulled off of a Doctor Strange comic episode, If Eternity Should Fail. And I was thinking at the time of doing one comic with the album. And the album was going to be probably a kind of conventional concept album. So that was the initial thinking. There was one song on the album called Resurrection Men, which was written about the story that I had created for the album. And there were some songs that weren't related, but anyway, it was fairly loose. Shadow of the Gods was basically like 80% complete, albeit without real drums on it. So we all of our demos had drum machines on it. So we had to, one of the things in the recording process was just replacing all those drum machine drums with real drums. And then when we got real drums on, then we added extra vocals and extra guitars. And then we replaced the real drums with better real drums. So Dave actually replaced himself in a big room with a big kit. I mean, awesome piece of drumming. Wow. I mean, note for note, incredible. So that was If Eternity Should Fail. And when I kind of repossessed the song 7 years later and said, oh, I'm going to put it back on the record, I thought, I don't want to call it the record that. But one, it's confusing now because people know it's a Maiden song.
Yeah.
But two, everything had moved on, and my one comic had become a 12 episode like comic / graphic novel, whatever you want to call it, which is going to take place over the next 3 years. So the first episode is out next week, January 17. And that's a concept. So I don't need the album to be a concept. Now I can be free ranging with a record. It'll have some links. I mean, the analogy I use is.
That's what I'm curious about. I mean, you mentioned, I read in another interview where you talked about people don't need to read the comic to get it, or listen to the album or something like that. It's not completely intertwined, but if you want to go deep, you will get some of the.
Exactly. The analogy I came up with was it's like it's two big freestanding trees in the forest. One's called the album, one's called the comic, and they don't rely on each other or lean on each other or anything. However, they are connected. You just can't see it because if you go down to the roots, they're connected.
There you go.
So, you can have fun by dipping into either or both. It's not prescriptive. You don't have to do one or the other. But the album, so for example, the first two tracks on the album, Afterglow, Ragnarok, and Many Doors to Hell, as soon as Roy and I got back together after 7 years, we wrote those two songs.
Many Doors to Hell has a real Rock You Like a Hurricane vibe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I would call, that's the most traditional rock metal track on the record. And in fact, the album goes down the slippery slope into kind of uncharted territory as we go through, which is great for me, because if you can spare 58 minutes and whatever it is seconds to actually sit down with a pair of headphones or whatever you want to listen to it on. And the vinyl, by the way, sounds amazing. The vinyl is wow, sounds so good. Um, but the album is a proper journey, a musical journey, not a literal journey, but it really does. If you can listen to the album just one time, all the way through, start to ending, I guarantee you at the end you'll go, oh, okay, that gives me a different perspective on everything. And then you can go and cherry pick which tracks you like and stuff like that, you know. Um, so yeah, so it looks like all of it was all done by design, but no, a lot of it was done by accident. So the
Mm,
last track on the record uh is almost 25 years old.
really?
Yeah. And Shadow of the Gods was written just after Tyranny of Souls.
And this is from your solo stuff you'd had shelved on tapes way back in the past, and you thought, I'm going to sort of revive that?
Well, yeah, I mean, actually, I'd actually forgotten we'd done it. I mean, the uh Sonata, the very last track. I mean, that was Roy went to see Immortal Beloved with Gary Oldman as in the movie as Beethoven.
Yep.
Was inspired by it. Came home, you know, burning the midnight oil, and laid down a sample that he did of Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. Then he put a drum machine over the top of that. Then just started riffing with guitar, like real ambient like stuff and mellotrons and keyboards and layers of stuff. Having fun basically. And he played it to me, and I think it must have been on Tyria. So I don't even remember when it was, but I remember the recording because I listened to it and I went, "Wow, that's really trippy. That's like ambient stuff, man." I mean, hmm, I don't know what to sing over that. Tell you what, let me go in and just open my mouth and see what comes out. And what came out is 80% of what's now on the record. All of that first verse, chorus, all the spoken word stuff, everything. That's all one take, and it's all the first take, and it was no pre preparation or anything. It was completely improv in front of the mic, which is weird.
Rare in music today, because
Yeah,
everyone's got the beauty of home studios. You can do 50 takes and keep
yeah,
going over it. One thing
yeah,
I did notice, especially because I have listened to the record a couple of times, is how aggressive your vocals are in the positive sense, of course.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
Maiden, of course, it suits so well because you are the voice of Maiden and the highs are there. But this album, I don't think I've heard such aggression in your voice in quite a number of years. It's almost like this is the, how do I put it? I find that your vocals on your solo works are always more angsty as opposed to sort of Maiden. I mean, is that just a purposeful thing, or that's just a feeling you get from this music because you've separated yourself from Maiden's sort of themes?
yeah. I mean, Maiden's got its style, and obviously, you know, Steve has a huge amount of influence on that. So
Mm,
when you're voicing somebody else's work, um, you know, there are limitations that get put on you because it's not your stuff. So, you know, if I was gonna change things around for a Steve song and say I think it should be done totally different way, you know, he's
yeah.
gonna go, well, it's my song, dude. You know, so I'm like, yeah, fair. It's like fair enough, you know.
Yeah.
So so from that point of view, which is fine, it's cool. I mean, Maiden has its unique style. Um, and you know, I mean, probably if we did if I did some of the stuff that the solo and I tried to make Maiden play it, I honestly think one or two people they'd feel uncomfortable,
Yeah.
you know, because they you know we work in a kind of a familiar groove, you know.
Yeah.
But with me and Roy, we've established that we do gnarly things with guitars that don't have to fit necessarily the mold of Maiden at all. You know, we're a independent entity, so yeah, we're free to emote a bit more about things. And there's some nice moments. One of my favorite tracks is Facing the Mirror, which again, I was not sure it was going to make the record because it was a little acoustic thing that I did. And I, we put a demo down and I actually played the guitar solo on it, which is very primitive. I mean, talk about naive guitar playing, but I just put it down as a kind of a placeholder and thought, well, I don't think that's going to make the record. So then I came back to visit Roy and he chopped up the song and re-edited it in various ways
Mhm.
and played me it and said, "What do you think?" I went, "Wow."
Like, what? Did I play that?
Yeah, exactly. I said, "I know I sang those words, but what have you done? You've done something." Blah, blah, blah. He said, "Yeah." He said the lyrical content of the song and the vibe and the emotion of it. He said it just really spoke to me, and I thought, we can't lose this. Let me tweak it a little bit. So then we went the basic vocal. A lot of the basic vocal is still the original vocal, but then the choruses I redid and put some high stuff on there. But he kept the guitar solo. Um, and it's lovely. Again, it's quite poignant. I mean, it's about kind of alcoholism because I
Mhm.
know lots of friends of mine have had problems.
Yeah.
But it's also it's the kind of a look there, but for the grace of God
Go
goes
I.
everybody.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't look in my mirror, pal, because you might see yourself.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, so there's that song. Um, other stuff. I mean, Resurrection Man. Again, we've got like a very broad palette of colors to play with because you're not restricted, by
Yeah.
having a stylistic restriction. So when we said when I said to Z, I said, you know what would happen if can you imagine the intro of this song being like on a Tarantino movie like Kill Bill? What would that
Mm.
sound like?
Yeah.
And that's when I hit the tremolo button and played the intro to Resurrection Man, with the da 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 like Dick Dale surf guitar
Yep.
going into these kind of like big smashy AC/DC chords, going into like this trippy Hawkwind type.
I can hear some Hawkwind in there.
Oh
Yeah.
no, there is
Yeah.
absolutely.
Totally.
So we were I was gluing together, Quentin Tarantino, AC/DC, Hawkwind, and then you get the Spirit of Giza suddenly takes the track over in the middle, and you
Yeah.
think, Jesus, where did that come from? And then it all starts all over again. The pièce de résistance, the coup de grâce, if you like, was after we did all the Dick Dale surf guitar bit at the beginning. I was like, what this track needs? It needs bongos. We've got to have bongos on there.
Yeah.
So it's my bongo playing debut. I'm very proud of it. It hurt like hell, but hey.
Awesome. Now let's quickly talk lyrically about the record because I know, as you said, it was started in 2014, and this, from what I've read, has a theme, sort of an adult theme on power and struggle and sort of self identity. So, yeah, as you said earlier on, all the tracks had sort of been written, but had the lyrics changed over the course of the last several years for this project, considering the stuff you've endured?
Um, Slightly, but not directly, and certainly not directly, not consciously.
Okay.
I'd say. I mean, so as I say, Sonata was 23 years ago, 25 years ago, whenever it was, a long time ago. Shadow of the Gods was written. I mean, Shadow of the Gods was written shortly after Tyranny of Souls, and they actually go together as a little duo because both of those songs were designed for a project that never happened, which was going to be three metal singers doing an album together and then going on tour. And it was going to be me, Rob Halford, Ronnie James Dio.
Yes.
And then Ronnie got sick, sadly, passed away. So we went, well, maybe it would work with Jeff Tate from Queensryche. Well, it turned out it didn't. But uh, in the meantime, Roy and I were busy writing tunes that would fit three vocalists. So Tyranny of Souls was one of those tunes. So I said, well, hell, we just put it on the solo record, Z, and I'll sing the parts myself. And the other one was Shadow of the Gods. And if you're a big Priest fan and you listen to the heavy bit where it starts going like that, somebody said, yeah, that's like a really great Priest riff. I went, yeah, well,
Mm.
who the hell do you think was supposed to sing it? You
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
So so I kind of doing the vocal bits on all of that. But again, as I said, that was done 2014 or slightly before, probably.
Yeah.
Um, and uh, and that and that and so then when we came to redo that song, I with a bit of perspective, I could add a few bits in because I was like, well, this is not going to be for a 3-person. This is not a 3-person car. This is a
Yep.
single seat. You're a single seater now. So I could add a few things in. I could drop in the odd reference to the comic without it because it sounded cool, because the words sounded cool. You don't necessarily have to read the comic, but you think, oh, what's that all about? You know?
Yeah.
And the title to the album, the title to the comic, actually came very late in the day. That didn't happen until about a year ago. So
Okay.
we'd already done the album. We're like, what the hell
Yeah.
are we going to call the album? I said, I don't know. You know, um, we were with one track. I mean, Sonata. We just called it Sonata because it was based on Moonlight Sonata. And I said, well, what the hell are we going to call this song? I mean, just keep it as Sonata. And Z went, no, it's got to be Immortal Beloved. I said, why? He said, because that's what inspired me to write it.
Yeah.
I went, I never knew that. You never told me that. I didn't find that out until like,
Yeah.
you know. So, yeah, a lot of lyrically, yeah. I mean, Afterglow of Ragnarok, for example, um, absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with the comic or anything. And it was a time I did think at the time, it's a bit unfortunate. This is a really cool track, and it is going to be the opening track, the first thing that people hear because it's so heavy, and it's the chorus is kind of a bit of an earworm as well. So we like that, quite melodic, but it does unfortunately mention the word Ragnarok, which summons up bloody Vikings. And
Mm.
I'm thinking, I do not want Vikings all over this record. I don't want Vikings in people's heads when they're looking at it going, oh, it's another Viking metal record. No,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, because it's a million miles away from that. Um, we thought of putting Many Doors to Hell out as the first cut, but then it's for me, I was like, yeah, but then people are going to think it's like a more traditional rocky like a hurricane type record, and I don't want that
Mm.
because they'll discover that that's a cool track on the record sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
But you have to, you know, pick your battles so people realize it's a different record. So the second cut is actually going to be Rain on the Graves.
Okay.
Yeah, which again is like, you know, a bit of there's a bit of in the vocal delivery there. There's a little bit of not that I'm comparing myself with Johnny Cash, but it's got a little bit of that, like, you know, that kind of vibe to the
Hmm.
verse, and then the chorus is like up there, like, you know, yelling and squealing. Um, but again, that song, the words to the chorus were written in the graveyard of William Wordsworth, the poet,
Really?
on a rainy day. And all I did, I scribbled down the bit of paper that there is rain on the graves. And I thought that was in 2005, I think. I was at a wedding um, up in the Lake District in a very beautiful part of the world and very inspirational for poets and artists and stuff. So William Wordsworth lived in this village called Grasmere, or just outside. So this cottage is preserved where he wrote all his poems. I went and have a visit there, and then he's buried in the churchyard. And it was a very grey, it was a very well tended grave. It wasn't like overgrown or anything. It was all
Yeah.
neat and tidy, and that seemed to me to be make it more poignant. The
Mm.
fact that it wasn't weird and gnarly. It was, you know, it was behind some iron bars, and it was like
Yeah.
obviously so nobody could put stuff on the grave, but it was always like they were imprisoning him so he couldn't get out. you know, you
Yeah.
know. Um, and I just thought that there is rain on the grave. Um, I don't know when I'm going to use that. So Roy and I were writing a tune, and that started out as let's do something like kind of like early Fleetwood Mac, like Green Manalishi and Oh Well and stuff like that, the Peter Green stuff, but really heavy it up. Let's and Roy came up with this riff. I went, well, yeah, that's cool. Da 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 da. Um, and then I just thought, this sounds to me like this is like Robert Johnson. It's like Crossroads. Can we do Crossroads, but in a churchyard? Can we do the guy meets the devil? Guy meets the devil in the churchyard and says, "What the hell are you doing here?"
Yeah.
Why are you here today to meet me? And don't lie, because I'll know. You know. So that's the devil. So it's the conversation about the guy meeting the devil in a graveyard, and we got to the chorus bit, or the bit that we. But okay, so now we got to go to. I said, "What's what chord would you go to there, Z?" And he goes, "Well, I could go. There is bang. I mean, bang. There is rain on the grave. Yeah. Whoa, we got it.
Really get it.
So quick, slap the demo down and point of reference, bang. And that's how we write. I mean, we will sit and stare at each other into space for 2 hours with nothing much happening, and then it'll all happen in 30 seconds, and you go, boom. Okay,
Boom, hit record quick. Yeah.
hit record quick, and make sure we don't forget that. And luckily, my wife was hanging out in the studio in LA. Because I said, come down to the studio. I said, because everybody knows you. It's like we're not gonna restrict what we do, thinking there's a stranger sitting in the corner. I said, but because the office said, could you get some pictures of stuff just on a little Android phone, recording of video of us doing stuff in the studio. She goes, yeah, I'll do that. So she just happened to hit record at the very instant that Roy and I came up with a vocal part.
Yeah.
And we're running around and I'm scribbling bits of nonsense down on a bit of paper and running into the vocal booth. They say, now, hit record now. Boom, boom, boom. So we got the whole thing. It's amazing.
It looks like I've frozen on the screen, but I think I've still got you here, Bruce.
Yeah. I've still got you.
There we go.
Yeah. There you go. Oh, no, you're unfrozen.
Well, the
Now
power's
you're
melting
unfrozen.
here in our
Yeah.
summer.
You've
Now,
been in
I've
an
been
ice
really,
bath too long, man. That's what it is.
no, I'm melting here. I can't wait to jump back in because we're in the Melbourne
Yeah.
summer. Let's quickly talk a bit about the Mandrake project you're taking on the road in April. So quickly tell us a bit about how that's going to sort of shape up. And aside from the maiden dates, which I'll get to for the Australian tour coming up, what's your whole sort of thoughts on taking this to the live front now?
Yeah, well, we're doing a pretty extensive tour. It's like 40 shows, something like that. So we're going to do a couple of warm-ups, couple of secrety warm-ups in the LA area, before we do a couple of shows in Mexico, 7 in Brazil, and then we go over to Europe and start headlining in the UK and festivals all the way through till 21st of July. And it's amazing. I mean, the shows of well, basically the shows have sold out in the UK.
Wow.
They're kind of like between 2 and 3,000 seats each show. They've just sold out. The Germany is going to be the same. Oslo and Helsinki is sold out. Helsinki sold out in 5 minutes, which was just ridiculous. I was like, huh? Yeah, you kidding me?
Yeah, they like
Yeah. So it's very the thing that astonished me is that we're selling all these tickets, and people have only heard one song. They haven't heard the rest of the record yet. So I think when we finally start unleashing track number 2 and the video that goes with it, which is awesome, by the way, the video for Rain on the Grave is going to be sensational. It's going to be better than the video for Afterglow of Ragnarok. Same director, but
yeah.
we had more time to develop a story on the second one. Yeah, the band is again. I mean, it's going to be the band that recorded the album. So Roy on guitar, Dave Moreno drums, Mysteria on keyboards, and the Mysteria plays a mean keytar, right?
Mm-hmm.
So people say, "Oh, where's the second guitar player?" I said, "Well, first of all, Roy is like 1.5 guitar players on his own, And if we need a harmony type thing, voila, I give you Mysteria on the guitar. He's a concert pianist, he's a composer, and he's just a mad, mad Italian guy. I mean, he's brilliant, absolutely
Yeah.
brilliant. So we complete the whole project with Tanya O'Callaghan on the bass, who I borrowed off David Coverdale
Yep.
because she plays bass on his band very well, as it happens, because
And
I
she's
met
part of a
her.
great documentary with Derek Green from Sepultura, Highway to Health, as well.
Oh yeah, yeah, she does that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I've been on. I've featured on that documentary, and so I mean, yeah, she's a big proponent of veganism, which is cool. I mean, but what I like about that aspect of what she does, um, is that she's absolutely cool. She doesn't like say you're all evil for
Yeah.
munching meat. It's just that her veganism is better, and she'll try and persuade you, but not beat you over the head with it. So, she's taken me out, taken me and the missus out to some pretty decent vegan restaurants. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not sure I could be 100% vegan, but I could do it 50% of the time,
I think I'm hitting 11 years this year.
right. Yeah,
Just
there you
my
go.
place.
Yeah.
Yeah, never felt better.
Yeah.
But if their owners
So, but she's above and beyond all of that. She's a great bass player. And I met her when I was doing this orchestral thing earlier last year in like April, um, with a group. We were doing the concerto for group and orchestra by John Lord,
Oh yes.
and when the and then we were doing half a dozen Purple songs with the orchestra and the band, and also we covered Tears of the Dragon and Jerusalem with a full orchestra. Um, So it sounded amazing. She was just happened to be the bass player, and I was like, "Wow, wow, you
You
can
want to
play."
play my band?
That's exactly the question. I said, because we got on, and I said, "Look, we haven't got a bass player because Roy plays the bass on the record, so we haven't got a bass player. So do you want to do it?" She's like, "Yeah." So like, cool.
Easy.
You shall go to the ball. So it's going to be a fabulous band. I'm excited. I'm excited to get stuck into rehearsals. Because it's going to be really really cool. We're going to come up with some cool stuff, and I wouldn't put it past the the all of us that we end up writing half a new album when we're on the road. Because the level of creativity and musicianship is such. They're going to leave me for dust. They're going to be doing backing tracks. I'm going to be wait. I've got the words yet. Stop.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, like I said, I'm going to check out the tour dates really quickly because we haven't got you for long. And of course, your pipes will be well and truly oiled by the time you hit Australia for the return of the Future Past Maiden Tour 2024. Let's check out the
Yeah.
dates. The first one's on Sunday, the 1st of September in Perth at the RAC Arena. Wednesday, the 4th in Adelaide at the Entertainment Centre. 2 shows in Melbourne, Rod Laver Arena. And on Tuesday, the 10th in Brisbane at the Entertainment Centre, as well as Sydney. 2 shows too in Sydney at Quodos Bank Arena, and then off to New Zealand and then Japan and the US as well. So again, Bruce, it's always a pleasure to reconnect, and we can get you to choose one of your favorite Maiden songs, one of your favorite songs off the Mandrake project, because we'll air this interview leading up to the release of the album, and just one of your favorite heavy metal songs of all time.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go with favorite a favorite Maiden song. We're not playing it on this tour. Power Slave.
Okay.
Yeah,
Spoiler
let's
alert,
go with
but
Power
yes.
Slave. Power Slave. Yeah. Um. Actually, no. Let's not go with that one. Let's go with Seventh Son title track, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, because that's
Yep.
cool. Uh, a track off Mandrake. I tell you what, because we've been talking about it, you can always play Shadow of the Gods.
Yep. You can throw that
Yeah.
in. And just one of your favorite heavy metal songs where you go, just a song from whichever band you like, and just go, that song just still stands up.
Wow. There's a few, but I go right back to the tune that really got me bouncing off the walls. Was the Deep Purple, Made in Rock, Deep Purple in Rock, Speed King.
Awesome. Let's check out some Iron Maiden, of course, a whole lot of other songs from Mr. Bruce Dickinson right here on andrewhogue.com. Thank you, Bruce.
Yeah. Yeah, buddy.